Sometimes everybody's calling this like making appointments. We're getting used to the system.
Let's open the Chumash. Good morning.
Morning, Rabbi. Good morning.
Morning. Let's open the Chumash. Bilam was hired. Good morning. So Larry, what happened over there with the tank near Khan Yunis?
It looked like they were walking. I don't know enough about it except to say that 5 soldiers were killed by an RPG. And 4 of the 5 soldiers were from the Haredi unit.
Shem Yishmarenu. It makes a difference. He's a regular Jew. But was the soldier abducted or not?
No, not that I saw this morning.
Oh, Baruch Hashem. The worst is now the abduction because its abduction means Shem Yishmarenu.
You're not kidding.
Abduction is better than dead.
Abduction means that another 1,800 murderers are being released by Israel, which means another 500 are going to be killed. The worst is to be abducted. Dead is dead for him, but 500 are not going to be injured. You have an idea what goes on in Israel? You really have an idea? It's just looking for the news. Israel released all the murderers that they arrested in many years to give for every Shavui, every person that was abducted, they gave back between 150 to 250 water. People wait every morning with the fork or knife for those who raped, killed. For the person himself, it's very good, but if he's released, he knows that because of his release, men, women, and children are going to be murdered. It's a problem, isn't it? It's a dilemma.
In your theory, then they should go and kill all the Hamas and forget about the hostages, let them die. And
except if your son will be the hostage, right? You say the same, yeah?
Yeah, that's the
But this is the question. But you have to be a very big man. But remember, Israel made a big mistake years ago. What was the name of the guy that Israel told?
Shalit.
One guy. Israel opened a Pandora box, 1,500 for one. Now they are, for them it's much better to have done. But this way they know for sure. Look a second in the end of Parashat Balak. There's more than. Remember, when we come as tourists, we go straight from the airport to the hotel, speak to the people who live all over Israel. What goes on? Hundreds of Israelis are immigrating to America, to Europe, to this. They're running away. He says, they shit tzmichat gevurotei, the beginning of the redemption. Hashem is reminding us, we have to improve. It's very painful. Anyway, look a second at page 874. It's Perek Chafei. I speak to my sister, she says to me, אתם יושבים גרה בשקט. וישב ישראל בשיטים. Bilam did not achieve his goal to curse the Jewish people. So before he left, he gave them advice. What was the advice was, the Jewish God doesn't like adultery, doesn't like when Jewish boys are going with boyot. So this is the last advice he gave. וישב ישראל בשיטים, ויחל העם לזנות את בנות מואב. A very attractive young lady from Moab were luring Jewish boys. ותקראנה לעם, the pasuk says, לזבחי אלוהיהם, they invited the boys to a party in honor of their idol, ויאכל העם וישתחוו לאלוהיהם. Now you cannot really go to a young Jewish man and tell him here, here's Buddha. Look at Rashi, what they did. We'll see it in the Gemara, of course. וישתחוו לאלוהיהם, Rashi, look at the right column. Pasuk at the right column. וישתחוו לאלוהיהם, כשתקף יצרו עליו, when the young man is physically very attracted to the lady, ואומר לה, אישה מיני, let's have a relationship. והיא מוציאה לו דמות פאור, she takes out a small idol, ואומרת לו, השתחווה לזה, bow down to it. Unfortunately, this type of an idol was a very dirty one. Baal Peor, nevertheless, he attracted to the girl. He wanted the girl to pay every price. We'll talk in a minute. Let's see what happens now. Vayitzamed Israel Baal Peor. Many of the young Jewish boys went to the idols because of the girls, obviously. Vayicha Raf Hashem Israel. Hashem is very upset. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. Kach et kol Rashi Am, take those who are involved in this relationship, ve'orka otam la'Hashem neged hashemesh, and publicly execute them the way they deserve for doing avodah zarah, ve'yashov charon af Hashem in Israel. The only way to remove the anger of Hashem from the Jewish people is to do what the Torah says, to kill them. Look at the Rashi a second.
What is Baal Peor, Rabbi? What kind of?
Baal Peor is the same Buddha that was in there.
Okay, so is it bigger than Hashem? Why is it Hashem getting involved?
It's every avodah zarah. It says in Chumash every time the Jewish people go to avodah zarah. Hashem says to execute this. It's even publicly. Or Italian girl, we are going to Jesus. If it's a Jesus, at least it's a nice church. Your Baal Peor is you have to remove your pants and you have to make on the idol. Yes? You have to humiliate yourself in public for the sake of the avodah zarah. So besides being avodah zarah, it's a very dirty time. Look at the Rashi, which means you see the Rashi was Pasuk Gimel on the right column, Peor, Poarim lefanav pi hatabak. You have to remove your pants and you have to make anim. Yes, you have to make the feces on the idol. Yeah. Zui avodato. Vayicha Raf Hashem b'Yisrael. Rashi says shalach b'hem magifa. Look at Rashi. We are on page. Maybe we are on page 874. Pasuk Dalet. קח את כל ראשי העם לשפוט את העובדים בפרוס. You cannot just kill people, you have to put them in front of a trial. Take the Sanhedrin to judge. והוקע אותם לכלייה. So look at the pasuk. We never pay attention to this part of the pasuk. קח את ראשי העם, take the Sanhedrin, the leaders. Ve'oka otam, and after punishing those who sin, you have to hang up those who sin. Neged Hashem, which must say neged Hashem.
So in other words, you're not hanging the Rashi Ha'am, you're
Correct.
killing.
Correct. It depends how you read the pasuk.
Well, that's why you're reading it that way.
Kach et Rashi Ha'am kama.
Correct.
Ve'oka otam. Look at the Rashi. We learned it already a few times. Din avodah zarah b'skila. There are two averot that everyone agrees that after you are executed, the body has to be hung. One is avodah zarah, the other one is person megadef. Neged Hashem. Listen to this. ומדרש אגדה, השמש מודיע את החוטאים, הענן נקפא כנגדו. העמוד ענן used to focus zero עלים, והחמה זורחת עליו. How many people do you think were killed? We'll see later in the Gemara, tens of thousands were killed, yes? Okay, but this is, we saw the Rambam a few times, it's very difficult when it comes to Burial and Rosh. Look at the Rashi Pasuk A. Let's read the Pasuk.
See, but according, if you read Dalit, why do you need to, if they were all hung, why do you need Haguish Anashib Anashab Anitzmad?
Good, good. So I'm going to read the Rashi. We'll see it in the Gemara later. Look at Pasuk A. We all remember, we know the end of the Pasuk, what Pinchas did with Zimri. We're talking, Vayomer Moshe el Shoftei Israel. Look at Pasuk A. Moshe is speaking to the Sanhedrin. Hirgu ish anashav hanitzmadim b'al peor. Nitzmadim, the shorosh is tzamid, is a bracelet. Okay? The bracelet is on my body. Those who actively worship the Avodah Zarah. So look at the Rashi. Hirgu ish anashav kol echad ve'echad מדייני ישראל היה הורג שניים. I'm afraid always to read the number, look at the number. The Dayane Israel, Shmona Ribot, the judges were 80,000. 88,000. 88 times 2 is what?
160.
76.
76. 176,000 were killed. This is the Pasuk, as you said. So remember, this is prior to the story of Pinchas, which means each one of the judges did what Moshe told.
Should the penalty have been Sikila here?
What?
Should the penalty have been Sikila?
That's right.
Rashi is saying, Din Avodah Zarah b'Skila, Kol HaNizkarim Niklu. Rashi is explaining why they being hung. So now, I mean, you have to imagine, yes, thousands of people are being killed for actively worshiping Baal Peor. Fine. Now, Ve'inei, Ish Mibnei Israel. Now remember, there are always religious people who believe that they know how to save the Kahal. Ve'inei Ish Mibnei Israel, a leader, Ba. This is the Nasi of Shimon. ויקרב אליך את המדיינית לעיני משה ולעיני כל עדת ישראל. Publicly, the Nasi of Shimon, Zimri ben Salul, is picking up an Italian blood and he is bringing it to Moshe. Look at the Rashi, what he did. You're going to see it in the Gemara in a minute. Look at the Rashi on the left column. Kozbi bat Tzu, לעיני Moshe. Can you imagine in front of hundreds of thousands of beings in Italian? Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi, is this mutar or asur? So look at the Rashi. זו אסורה או מותרת? אם תאמר אסורה, if you tell me it's a no-no, but יתרו, your wife is a goya. Right? כדאית התם. והמה בוכים, everyone is crying, why are they crying? התעלמה ממנו הלכה. Moshe, yes, should have told me, if you do it, if you ask him, the halacha is that every man is sincerely zealous, which we're going to see in the Rambam in a minute, allowed to kill you. Ga'u kulam b'bchiya. Everyone, means tens of thousands of people are crying. Right?
Why are they crying? I'm not sure I understand why.
Continue in Rashi. Ba'egel amad Moshe keneged shishim ribo. When the Egel happens, Moshe Rabbeinu was a leader, stood against 600,000. Vekan rafu yadav. Suddenly Moshe is hesitating. He's not doing what he's supposed to. Yes. Ella, why did it happen? כדי שיבוא פנחס ויטול את הראוי. Pinchas is going to rise to become Pinchas because of this act. Because Moshe is hesitating. Let's read one more pasuk, then go to the Rambam. Say again, this is already thousands of people are being killed for doing Avodah Zarah. not for having relationship. Then, what was this obviously very important person? What did he think? He figured instead of letting the Jewish boys going out, the Italians, let's bring the Italians into the camp. What are we gaining? We're getting the Avodah Zarah. You can see many rabbis would say to me, if the boys are going there, you have Italian girls, or Avodah Zarah. Let's bring them in and send them. Please, the Avodah Zarah sounds good. This is exactly what the commentators explain what he's trying to do. Yes? So look a second. Vayar Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen. Pinchas is standing there and he realizes what's going on. Vayakam mitoch ha'edah. Spend time on the word Vayakam there. What was he sitting, or was he swimming, or he was on the floor? Vayakam, you become a man in one act in your life. You are made for history. Vayakam, to a man, he raised himself. Vayikach romach beyado. Took a knife, we'll see in the Gemara all the details. Vayavo achar ish Israel al is following Zimri ben Salu into his tent. וידקור את שניהם. את איש ישראל זמרי ואת האישה על כובעתה. He stabbed them exactly together to show everyone that they were engaged in active גילוי עריות בגויה. והתעצר המגפה, the plague that Hashem sent, stopped. How many were killed by the plague? והיו המתים במגפה 24,000. 40,000 died in the מגפה. This is what
this kabbalah that they're saying is what we say halachayim b'keva v'lachayim. It's a stomach.
more or less, but it means the main idea is Rashi says El kovata kemo alechayim v'akeva.
No, Rashi says ohel, and then kabbalah he says that one. It's interesting.
Look. כיוון בתוך זכרות של זמרי ונקבות שלה. Remember, he's stepping out with the two men on his sword. Everyone should see. They didn't kiss each other. Neither they watched TV together, yes? Here, the knife is exactly in the place where they live together, yes? בתוך זכרות של זמרי וראו כולם שלא לחינם הרגם. It's very uncomfortable to read because it happens many times. It happens recently in Israel also. Yes.
We said two different numbers. I'm not sure.
First of all, they killed those who did Avodah Zarah. They did do it.
So that's not like
Then you have a plague. The plague killed 24,000.
in addition.
The plague stopped the minute he killed him. So you have tens of.
So which people died in the plague?
Okay, we'll see. There's a big netziv. Because before we go to the Gemara, open the Rambam, Sefer Kedusha. You have the Rambam here. Sefer Kedusha, Ilchot Yisorei B'Yah. Rambam, Sefer Kedusha, Ilchot Yisorei B'Yah. Perek Yud Bet. Look at the beginning. Look at the Sefer Kedusha. You should say on top. Ilchot Yisorei B'Yah. Perek Yud Bet. Israel, a Jewish man, שבאה לקום משאר האומות דרך אישות. There are tens of thousands of intermarriage in this country. When a Jewish man is marries a Goya, or vice versa, or a Jewish woman, נבעלה להקום דרך אישות. דרך אישות means they live together as a husband and a wife, married. הרי אלו לוקים מן התורה. So if if a woman married a Goy or a Jewish man married an Italian, מכות מן התורה שנאמר, לא תתחתן בם, בתך לא תיתן לבנו, וביתו לא תיקח לבנו. If it's a full marriage, you know, there are tens of thousands of, unfortunately, the Reform movement recognizes this type of marriage. Conservatives say yes, not, but this is in the Torah, it's makot in the Torah. It says regardless if she's from the 7 nations or others. Okay, הלכה ב' לא אסרה תורה אלא דרך חתנות.
Remember, they get malkut, and then obviously they have to separate.
Obviously, it's only if you have a Jewish state.
Yeah.
Hundreds of intermarriages in Israel and America, you have hundreds of thousands. Yes, most Americans are disappearing.
So what is in today's things, like if somebody.
Nothing. We are killing ourselves by doing intermarriage. Nothing you can do. We are sending our kids to Ivy League because we have to have good education. Look at הלכה ב' לא אסרה תורה אלא דרך חתנות, אבל הבעל הכותית דרך זנות, מכים אותו מכת מרדות ובדברי סופרים. A Jewish boy in college, she's a very attractive young lady, not Jewish, gets malkot mid'Rabbanan. See, הבעל הכותית דרך זנות. He goes to the village, he goes to college, and colleges every
He
day.
doesn't want to marry.
By the tens of thousands, Jewish boys having a relationship with boyot.
But wait a minute, so why, if he's Makkah, if he
Okay,
gets,
second, let's finish.
sorry.
ואם ייחדה לו בזנות, if the student in college is living together with a girl, they live together in the village for a couple of years or months, חייב עליה מדרבנן משום נידה, משום שפחה, משום כותית ומשום זונה. It's called בראשי תיבות נשגז. נידה, שפחה. So if it's one time encounter, מכות מדברי סופרים. Otherwise it's 4 עבירות מדרבנן. ואם לא ייחדה לו אלא נקראת מקרה, אינו חייב אלא משום כיתות. Okay, this is the way we kill ourselves today is by this intermarriage. What did you start to ask?
So then if according to this, if you only get Markat Mardut, or you only get whatever this is, why did then Pinchas have the right to kill them? They should have only got Markat.
The reason why we are looking in the Rambam is because we're aiming to Halacha Dalet, which we did not read yet, okay?
So I would assume a public display is a whole different world than a private.
Exactly. It says the Rambam in Halacha Dalet, Larry,
Okay.
כל הבועל כותית בין דרך חתנות בין דרך זנות, אם בעלה בפרהסיה, והוא שיבעור לעיני 10 מישראל, when Zimri ben Salu is going to the tent, there are tens of thousands.
Okay, so that's the, okay.
Is there, או יותר, אם פגעו בו קנאים והרגו, if the zealous people killed him, הרי אלו משובחים וזריזים. They should be praised. Again, the Rambam is not saying that me and you should do it. We are not so zealous about the Jews. Those who sincerely feel it. בדבר זה, הלכה למשה מסיני. בדבר זה, that what, if it's done in public, a zealous person, as Pinchas, is allowed to kill them, הלכה ראיה לדבר זה, מעשה פנחס בזמרי. The Rambam is using this. What gave Pinchas the halachic right to do what he did? It's הלכה למשה מסיני. Now the Rambam does not mention that Pinchas had to say anything to Zimri.
Why he didn't have to, would he have to give Hatra'ah?
Look at the Ravid, the Shagat Ravid. You see the Ravid.
Where's this?
You should have, under Rambam, you have a Ravid. I
Okay.
mean, I have the book, but by you, if you're looking at the computer, they must have seen
Oh,
the
the Ravid, okay.
Yeah, you have it. Every Rambam has a Ravid. Means it's always with a star. Excuse me, Shagir.
Yeah, I'm sure you have it, but I know it's here. I just
Every
don't
Rambam has it.
remember it.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not saying.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I gotta have it, yeah, I have it. I just found it. So small. A little box.
What does Rambam mean by here? Does he mean, does he,
It's the same as the scale.
But he didn't even know bad stuff.
Good,
Have done. They have one of the great miracles that happened. He had done. His own donkey opened up towards
What's
him.
the background
and he
noise?
hit him.
yeah, I lost it, sorry.
The Gemara says by Esther, why didn't Esther kill Elazar? They killed Esther Parasa. Do you think Achashverosh had a screen to see everyone's him and Esther? Parasa means if 200,000 Jews know that the Jewish girl lives in the palace and they're not watching TV together, they read a part of the New York Times, Parasa, yes? So when Zimri ben Saruk publicly brings this blonde woman to Moshe, and then he walks into a tent, are they going to eat a steak together, or this is the parasha, yes? Says the Rebbe, I mean, this is the Gemara. The reason I use Esther is because the commentators say, what do you mean? The Gemara says Esther is parasha. What was the parasha? This is the parasha. Parasha means that everyone knows. Knows means beyond the doubt. Look at the Rebbe. כתב הרייבד ז"ל, במה דברים אמורים שיתרו בו ולא פירש. Only if you give a warning to this jerk, and he continues.
Yeah.
אבל לא יתרו בו, but if a warning was not given, לא אמרינן, הרי היינו משובחים. So now the question is, we don't know if Pinchas gave him a warning or not.
Right.
So look at the main commentator of the Rambam, interestingly enough.
Well, he had it, he must have, because Pinchas,
Just a minute, let's see the Maggid Mishneh over here. Look at the Maggid Mishneh, look by you, I have a different print. Look at the Maggid Mishneh. By you is the 4-5 The Maggid Mishneh is the earliest commentator on the Rambam. Everyone, the Kesef Mishneh, every time he brings him, he speaks always with respect. It was much before the Mishneh. Says the Kesef Mishneh.
the Kesef Mishnah, the Maggid Mishnah.
No, Maggid. No, I'm using the Kesef Mishneh just to prove the status of the Maggid Mishneh. תקשיבו טוב, הוא בהשגות, אמר אברהם, the Rebbe is asking a question, or he's making a comment. ויש לומר שכל שהוא מזיד, listen good to the lumdus of the Maggid Mishneh, כל שהוא מזיד אינו צריך התראה, שלא מצינו התראה אלא לחייבי מיתות בית דין, אבל זו הלכה היא, ואינם רשאים אלא בשעת מעצר, ולא מצינו בפנחס שיתריע בזמן. Says the Maggid Mishneh, the Rebbe is not disagreeing with the Rambam. He is saying in the case of Zimri, there was no need for a warning because publicly the man definitely knows. When do you need a warning? Is a man is about to do something on Shabbat. A man is about to do something with a married woman. Maybe he's unaware that the punishment is death. Here, the man came with a question. The man is a knowledgeable man. You don't have to.
So let's do the Makoshesh. Why don't we, how come the Makoshesh doesn't then get, why was there,
It's a good point you're making.
unless then Makoshesh didn't have 10 people.
This is exactly why the Maggid Mishneh is saying, look, שלא מצינו התראה אלא לחייבי מיתות בית דין. Again, if a man is doing an Aveirah, that is one of the 36 Aveirot, and the punishment is execution, then the halacha is regardless, you have to give him a warning. Again, not because you are not sure if he knows that this is asur or not, you cannot execute someone. Says the Maggid Mishneh, This is Halacha Moshe Sinai. The man definitely knows what he is doing.
So Moshe didn't give him an answer, Rabbi, like when.
This is why Rashi said that people were crying. Moshe was so shocked. Imagine that the rabbi of Ashkelon is coming to Chacham Ovadia with the blind woman, would be able to answer.
So then that means that he wasn't aware. His rabbi didn't tell him that you cannot do it. So you should give him a try.
He was the rabbi of rabbis. Reuben Salu knew more than all the rabbis that you know. He was making fun of Moshe in public, yes, in order to gain publicity in front of his people. You really think a rabbi was not a jerk from. He knew it. He was making fun of Moshe in public. He thought that he was asking a question. He was making a statement to put Moshe down. No, but this is what this is the halacha that every kid knows. Kids, not kids. Kids know this halacha. If you have a relationship with a goya,
Rabbi, did we hear one's opinion that Pinchas should have checked with Moshe, his rabbi, before taking action, and there was some infraction there, but still he was rewarded for this zealousness?
Could have gone with you straight to the Gemara. We read the Pesukim to show that she is already bringing us. Pinchas realized that Moshe is not answering. So Joseph thought, because Zimri didn't know. Moshe was shocked. So Rashi is asking, why was he shocked?
So why did it say?
100,000 says Rashi. In history, there is moments that someone has to rise to become a star.
Yeah.
This was the moment for
It's the exception. Moshe was stunned and didn't take action. Therefore, Pinchas stepped in.
This is what Rashi said.
So
Just
Moshe
read the
married
Rashi.
the Goya. So what was his answer?
Moshe converted the Isha. Moshe married the Goya.
That's what the guy says. He married the Goya.
This is what the left is saying about it.
He did it legally.
Anyway, Joseph
Can I ask? What is?
married the Goya. Most of the tribes married Goya. Most of the Shvatim married. Anyway,
Rabbi Prague. So what is the Hema Bochim Petach Ohel Moed?
people were crying to see Moshe confused.
But if it's Halach LaMoshe Sinai and it's so known, how come they would be crying?
They are crying only because Moshe is
Frozen. He's frozen.
exactly as Joseph says, frozen.
I don't understand. I'm sorry.
Rabbi, the question of the Hatra, isn't there a machloket whether you have to give Hatra to the Chacham, and in the end you have to give the Hatra.
This is why I read the Maggid Mishneh slow and I focused on what he says. It says only by Chayvei taught Beidin.
Yeah.
Says the Maggid Mishneh, the halacha is that you have to give a warning. By halacha l'Moshe Sinai, unless the man doesn't know. You look at
But
I just am going to a second to another Rambam, and then we'll come right back. Joseph,
what halacha did Moshe not know?
Moshe knew it, but Moshe didn't answer it that moment. He froze. This is exactly what he said. Moshe did not tell him the halacha is Abu Ela Ramit Kanaim Pugim. He didn't say it. He did not say it. The Lucas said that Joseph the Rambam says. Lucas second. Just a second, Joseph. Go to page 14. In chapter 14, the Rambam is talking about real converts. So look at Perek Yud Gimel. So Perek Yud Gimel, yeah. Look at Perek Yud Gimel Halacha Yud Daled. Is that one page back? Yeah. No. You went forward. Forward. Go. Perek Yud Gimel Halacha Yud Daled. You see? Here, Joseph, this is written by the Ram. Al ya'aleh al da'atcha, don't even think ששמשון המושיע את ישראל, שמשון, אומר דלילה, yes? או שלמה שנקרא ידיד השם, נשאו נשים נוכריות. Don't ever think that they married Goyot. The Rambam goes and explains that perhaps they shouldn't have done it, but they definitely could have done it. Later, the action that they did showed that they never meant real conversion. This is what the Rambam says. Moshe Rabbeinu is the same. All the Shvatim married. It says in
Is this why there were so many problems in the desert? Because they married Goyot?
the problem with the deserts was because tens of thousands that came out of Egypt to the Arab. All the Arab Rav converted. And they converted because they saw how much money the Jews had, they saw the power they had. It says in my Chumash that Yehuda married a Goy. Married? Of course he converted. Boaz married Ruth. This is the alphabet of Judaism. Yes. He, Zimri ben Salu, he knew the halacha, but he wanted to argue with Moshe. He believes it's better if we bring all the prostitutes into the camp. This way we save Avodah Zarah. The halacha is that Abuel Arabi, Eli, look again, go back now, Eli, to halacha. Hey, look again. ויש לומר שכל שהוא מזיד אינו צריך התראה, שלא מצינו התראה אלא לחייבי מיתות בית דין. Here we did the Rambam in Chot Sanhedrin more than once. It's difficult to we do it more than once. If someone is a scholar and he read Chumash today, that if you desecrate Shabbat, you're dead, and he's about to strike a cigarette, do I have to tell him? If you do it, you'll be executed. The answer is why? But he definitely knows it. Why are we doing it? Says the Maggid Mishneh, this is the halacha. You cannot execute anyone. It's not to make sure that he's losing. We know he's losing. There is one opinion that says that the purpose of Atara is that. He's saying here it's halacha Moshe Sinai. The guy definitely knows it. He was killed in 24,000 only got killed in the plague. Otherwise, many more would continue dying. We are afraid to think about it because we live in a day and age that so many Jews are doing it.
Right, Rabbi, the ones that died in the plague, like, who were they? We know the people, the 176,000 died.
This is the Avodah Zarah, the woman. Those were the plague, those were the woman. We'll see in a minute. We're going to see the Gemara. See, Joseph, every time you learn the Gemara like that, it helps because in today's day and age, we were born into most Jews are like that. This is why we wait for Mashiach.
Who says that? Who said that he had an intention that to bring it to the camp?
This is interpretation of why he wanted to do it.
But it proves that you cannot make decision yourself. You have to take it to the camp.
Right.
So then, not to
Obviously,
justify him what he's doing.
Right. So this is why Pinchas is every commentator that talks about this idea that Zimri really wanted, so to say, he definitely meant it, to do something good, brings as follows. There is a Sefer on Chumash, one of the greatest commentators 400 years ago, Akedat Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak Amar, I think he was mainly in Turkey. He writes in his Sefer, his book, writes like this. He doesn't give the name. There was a city, he doesn't say if it's Turkey or other city in Europe, I'm pretty sure it was there. Anyway, it is the Jewish boys went to prostitutes, but to Jewish prostitutes, not to boys, Sadiqim. So the rabbis figures like this, listen to this. If the prostitutes are, and most of them most likely didn't go to the mikveh, it's correct. Let the court, let the Jewish rabbis even OU and the prostitute, which means only those who went to the mikveh can go to the prostitute. Sounds brilliant, you know? This way,
That'll make it
the
legal.
boys are going to prostitutes no matter what. Question is, in addition, it's exactly the same as in, you know what the lights over there. If I find it to know, I'll bring it. Says the Akedat Yitzchak, the Beidin of Izmir, I forgot if it was Izmir, says absolutely not. It says the minute the OU, the minute
Makes it kosher.
the minute the OU makes kosher and the non-kosher, even though you're gaining a lot, it's Chilul Hashem b'Faras. So it says what the boys do, try privately too. This is exactly what happened here, yes? He's trying to sell it this. It's assumed to live with the Italian girls, but they are using it for Avodah Zarah. Let's say that this is kosher. Let's bring the Italians into the camp. This is exactly what he said. He's a famous Akedat Yitzchak. He says it happened in his time. So the Beidin said, no matter what, it's a very delicate problem. This is why many communities, even in Israel, sometimes you accept conversions that are not perfect conversions because it happens. You know. I'm not talking about a kibbutznik marrying a girl from Germany because it's so good looking. Talking about Russian girls, you're not sure if you're Jewish or not. So, yeah. Why? Because otherwise, hundreds of Israeli families in America, thousands, yes. If you go to communities outside of New York, Seattle, in the Jewish school, we have many, many converts. Here in New York, they wouldn't let it because we have a lot of, they have no choice. Otherwise, you are pushing away. The Queens are trying to give Jewish education, whatever the excuses are, but where is the fine line? It's a very delicate fine line. So, tomorrow, we're going to see the Gemara inside, and we're going to see what the commentators say on the Gemara. To summarize what we saw today was those who worshipped Avodah Zarah, tens of thousands were killed legally. Many died in the plague. Then Pinchas, and the main reason is you see the Gemara Joseph, is the people from Shevet Shimon said, you are a leader. They're coming to him, you are a leader. And you are allowing them to kill so many people, let's do something. He decided to do what he was doing. And the way it was done to approach Moshe, it's history. It's history, but it's very dangerous. Understand? It's very dangerous because the minute you are building Pinchas, you make him a hero when he was, there are many crazy people today that, oh, look, I'm going to do. He did it because the Torah has to testify that he did it for the right motivation.
The answer to Jack's question, who was the 24,000 people that died?
God will leave the
Oh, I saw it back there.
Those
who lived with the Italians.
So they were sinning.
Everyone agreed they were sinning.
So it wasn't a random.
The Torah is saying the tens of Jewish
So
boys.
why should they, if they were sinning, why is it so important to stop the Magefa?
Because otherwise another 150,000 will die.
His actions saved lives. His actions saved lives.
Joseph, there are many Jewish boys in this community, the Ashkenaz community, they go to the village to live with them. Why, how come they're not dying? Because they're making a mistake. But when they did it in public and they didn't stop, this is why they died. You don't die normally, just having it twice, 100 times. What young kids do normally, is not looked upon as amazing. What they do is wrong, but here, when Moshe is already telling you to stop, the judges are telling you to stop, and you're not, this is why you die. If the Magefa stopped because you're doing it in public. Come on, see what it is. Okay, tomorrow it would be, if you zoom in tomorrow, Joseph, zoom in, 7:20.
Okay, very good.
It's
Thank you.
interesting.
Chazak Baruch, Rabbi. Have a great day.
It's interesting, the word semed, by the way. I like the word.
Tomorrow we'll see it.
Also, you know what, yesterday, going back, Rabbi Prague, going back to yesterday, we forgot to say adding an aliyot on Shabbat as a tirchat tzibur also.
But except, here's the point. Except, let's say, okay, in my shul, this is already 60 years, as the shul was established, the decision was that no one ever gets an extra aliyah. Why? Because the minute you do it and you really should do it, another person says, well, when the greatest scholar in our shul, Rabbi Aaron Kaiser, his son got married, and his brother-in-law was a Rosh Yeshiva. Of course, you have to give him an aliyah. Of course, the father of the bride, of course. Then I came to the father of the groom. He said, so which aliyah should you give me? He says, don't give me an aliyah. I'm full of it. I told him, Rabbi Kaiser, everyone agrees. He says, don't give me, no matter what.
Don't change the rules.
But in other shuls, since people are not so educated, so it's an agreement. If you marry off a son or a daughter, you make a bar mitzvah, you add aliyot. Okay, what can you do? So,
Rabbi, if I'm correct, Bnei Zion has only Shabbat Olim on Shabbat. That's it. I'm not sure if there's even exceptions.
okay, but this is the right way because otherwise you'll have wars. In many shuls, they do have wars. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's because people don't realize to get an aliyah is very nice. Yes. But if your aliyah is making it difficult to other people, and your aliyah is going to make. I mean, I remember in my shul there was a man. He comes to me. I need an aliyah this week. Says, what's the occasion? The man is in his 70s. Yeah, I'm laughing. It's because this week is my birthday. Okay, I had to respect him. Of course, we give him. Yeah, but in my heart, the answer is, he grew up in he came from Germany. So he grew up in his community, this was important. We said, okay, we're giving you. But he didn't add an aliyah, we gave him an aliyah.
Rabbi Prague, it's fascinating. So what I did, I was interested. So I went into what we call Chat GPT, and I asked them. So they go. So it's so. I mean, you know this, but if they push you, they ask you to go the Igros Moshe, and it says applies Tirchat Tzibur to modern settings like delaying services for a latecomer. Waiting for a minyan or exceptionally long speeches during davening.
This is it. It's a big problem. It's a very big problem.
And then I didn't even know Shi'urim Mitzuyanim Balacha.
This is a commentary on Kitzur Shulchan Aruch.
I mean, imagine 2 seconds, it pushes it up. I wouldn't know where to start to look for.
Larry, let me tell you about a speech Rabbi Prague made one Shabbat. He told us a story back in Europe that they always asked the rabbi, how come his speech is always exactly 7 minutes long? He said, because that's the distance from my house to the shul, so I always time my speech exactly that length. He said, but Kehan, I need that, I came from Borough Park. It took me 40 minutes to get here. Everybody got there.
But Ronnie, what's the, I don't know about Sfardim, but Ashkenazim, what after the rabbi's speech, what is the first thing that happens after the rabbi's speech?
I don't know. Tell me, what do you...
We go they put the Sefer Torah, everybody sings Eitz Chaim, everybody's happy, the rabbi's speech, and then the rabbi finishes and they say a Kaddish.
Yeah.
What he means, of course, is for Musaf, you have to say Kaddish.
Yeah. Great.
This is okay, it's a problem. The problem is that for a rabbi to give a good speech to a good crowd, you have to prepare at least half an hour, really an hour. Many rabbis, because I have a fellow that is Rabbi Bemet, was very, very involved in Israeli affairs. Bemet. He says to me, every Shabbat the speech was about Israel. He says, I'm interested in the parasha and I care very much about Israel, but once in a while the answer is Bemet, and the rabbi all his life he gave for Israel. He was a rabbi in a very big shul. He says we understood it, but we couldn't say anything because we knew that he spoke from the heart. He said,
sure.
Yeah, but
there's another thing in any endeavor, writing or speaking, it's all about editing. I used to work for a man that before we had computers, he used to write 5-6 page letters to his clients. I tell him, Bob, the letter's too long. Nobody reads past the second page. He says, I didn't have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a long one.
This is the idea. Have a wonderful day.
Have a great day. Chazak Baruch, Rabbi.
So, Rabbi,
So, Sophia, I'll tell you something interesting. I didn't want to say it publicly.